This week, our YouTube channel, the Social Rights YouTube channel, was removed from the internet. And it's simply not an isolated incident in and of itself. It's all, of course, part of this broader system of ideological control, which is exercised by Zionist-controlled corporate and political institutions that now dominate our society. So contrary to claims that were made by YouTube that we posted violent content, nothing in fact that we posted was endorsing violence or violent or criminal. Our channel was really removed because of one thing, because the truth is the most dangerous weapon that we actually have. So of course we appealed the decision, and when we appealed it, no concrete evidence or any violent content was provided to us. So there was no clear violation identified at all, just these vague accusations that are handed down from a really opaque system that answers, in fact, to nobody. But sure, as we know, this is how power operates under Western imperialism. Censorship doesn't always appear in the form of police raids or outright state bans. It's not like banning books in the old days. Instead, it is all outsourced to giant tech monopolies which function as unelected managers of public consciousness. So platforms like YouTube control the digital public square even more thoroughly than Western governments control physical space. The Epstein ruling class do not fear misinformation, not nearly as much as they fear the truth. Independent thought scares the shit out of them. So the fear of the masses developing class consciousness is so huge that they have to shut down anyone who talks about class immediately. The whole media cabal fear workers, they fear ordinary people, and they fear dissidents communicating outside approved ideological boundaries. And that's exactly why algorithms suppress dissenting voices like ours. It's why shadow banning has become so widespread, and it's why vague moderation systems are used to quietly remove politically inconvenient perspectives. So the system works precisely because it remains deniable. When visibility is throttled, you could say, behind closed doors, well then you're going to find audience is eventually dropping off and disappearing. So that's why we have accounts being buried by algorithms, while corporations insist everything's all neutral and it's all automated. But this kind of censorship is actually decentralized, it is bureaucratic, and it is intentionally difficult to prove. But you know what makes the whole situation especially grotesque? It is the alliance between sections of liberal left activism and corporate power. Many self-described progressives now openly support censorship when directed at views they dislike. In fact, they are expert at defaming, isolating, and all very insidiously blackening the names of those that they don't like, or groups that they don't like, or dissenters that they do not concur with. In fact, some of them even believe giant corporations should regulate public discourse in the name of safety or harm reduction. And in practice, what does this mean? It means just handing extraordinary ideological power over to Zionist billionaires, to advertisers, to intelligence-linked institutions and monopolistic tech firms. Soft authoritarianism likes to adapt perfectly into the digital age. Look, speech isn't always criminalised outright, but it certainly can be erased, and it certainly can be invisibilised. And don't we know all too well the tools of isolation here in Social Rights Ireland? Not just because our media has been algorithmically buried, but we continue to be victims of slur campaigns through subtle, slow, violent methods. Overall, we should all know by this stage that under capitalism, information is always privatised. A handful of US Zio corporations own the infrastructure through which billions try to communicate, organise and understand reality. These companies will present themselves as neutral platforms, but actually they are actively shaping political narratives according to the interests of capital, according to the interests of empire, and of course, according to Zionist interests. That's why censorship today can't be separated from class power. The same structures that exploit workers, the same structure that manufactures consent for genocide, for war, for racism, blah, 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 all of these structures protect elite interests and determine which voices are allowed to exist online and which aren't. Our YouTube channel's removal is only a wee small example of a much larger trend. The consolidation of Zionist control by corporate power operating hand in hand with political and cultural institutions, as I said earlier. The moment that independent voices begin reaching people in meaningful numbers, the machinery of suppression begins to move, and move it has. But just remember, we will never be silenced. Not by Meta, not by activists claiming to be on the same side, being anti-genocide, who speak yet with forked tongues, doing the dirty work of the entity that they let on to oppose. No, we will not be silenced. We will continue. We have been pushed back before. There hasn't been a week past that we have not experienced pushback or attempts to isolate us. And yet, we're still here.